Hello. I'd like to order the magic sandwich, and to drink, I'd like to have gin and tonic. Thank you. Okay, everyone, I'm back. And if you don't recognize those two things that I just said, the magic sandwich and the gin and tonic are both TV shows. Well, not TV shows, internet shows. You can't really call them TV shows because they're not on TV, they're on the internet. Two internet shows. Magic Sandwich Show, and its, sister show, the Gin and Tonic Show. Magic Sandwich has to do with Christianity. Gin and Tonic has to do mainly with Muslim apologist and, all that dandy stuff over there, as opposed to the dandy stuff over here. But anyways, recently, while I was watching the latest episode of the Gin and Tonic Show, there was a guy on there named Nadir Ahmed, or Ahmed, or I don't know how to pronounce your name, so let me know how to pronounce your name. But he was on there and he was talking about, there's no light at the bottom of the oceans, and then they brought up stuff like bioluminescence, and he's like, well, I don't know about that. Yeah, that guy, okay? So I'm watching the Gin and Tonic Show, and for some reason, I had to comment. Like, I normally don't comment. I know, leaving YouTube comments is kind of pointless most of the time, especially if the video is popular and there's already, like 600,000 comments on it already. No, your comment's gonna get lost in the vast sea of comments that are out there. Yours is just a drop. But I decided, since these videos were so new and since I felt like this guy was just so wrong, that I was going to go ahead and comment. And so I did. I left a comment. And then after I left that comment, I'd unpause the show and I'd watch a little bit further along. And then something else would happen, and I'm just like, oh my god! Pause. I realize I've already commented on this video, but da-da-da-da-da. And so I left another comment, and then, part 2 or 3 or 4, I left several comments on all these videos. This is the most comments I've ever left for a series of videos. Ever. In the history of commenting on videos. I've never commented this much, because it's usually just pointless. Well, it wasn't completely pointless, because the dude who was on the show, Nadir, contacted me, said, hey, I read some of your comments, and, there's something you said that really grabbed my attention, and I would like to know if you'd like to have an open discussion about it. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm up for open discussions. That's kind of what I do. And so I was like, sure, I'm open, for any discussion you'd like to have on any comment that I posted, because there's a whole bunch of them. I didn't even know which one he was talking about. And so he shoots back to me. He's like, oh, well, I don't even remember what the comment was, but I've got some evidence for Islam, and I have prophecies and stuff that I'd like to tell you about. And I was wondering if you'd be open to having a conversation about the prophecies for Islam. And it's like, well, originally we were going to talk about what I posted, but sure, whatever. I'm up for, sharpening my claws, as it were, on, apologists of any variety. It doesn't matter, most of their arguments boil down to the same stuff, same logical fallacies, same mundane claims, as you'll see. So I'm like, sure, prophecy away, go ahead. And so he's like, alright, here's the first prophecy. And, he said, would you like to have an open-ended discussion? And I fell for it, and I said yes. When he really meant by open-ended discussion would be, I discuss a whole bunch of stuff, and then he posts a link to his website for me to read over. And the link that he posted me to was this thing in the Quran that says, there's a prophecy that, the Muslims will fight the Jews, and the Jews will, fight behind a great wall. And it's like, okay, so where's the magical prophecy part? Because if you're telling me that the way you're going to prove the Quran is because the Quran says that a bunch of religious people are going to fight a war with a bunch of other religious people and there's going to be a wall involved, that doesn't say very much. Because religious people have been fighting with other religious people since, like, the beginning of religious people. Duh. I mean, and since the beginning of war, practically since the beginning of war, as long as we've known about warfare, there have been strategies and tactics for launching warfare more effectively. And one of the most basic strategies in warfare for setting up a position is to have a wall. A wall! Have you ever heard of a wall? Like the walls of Troy? You know, walls. These big giant things that keep the bad stuff out. Stop, you know, arrows and things from, you know, killing you. From getting in your fucking building and killing you. They're walls. They stop things. So the Quran prophesizes that a bunch of religious people are going to fight other religious people and there's a wall. Well, whoop-de-fucking-do. What exactly is that supposed to do? Impress me? Because that's very mundane. Anybody could say, and have said many times, I predict that this group of people will attack this group of people and something will, you know, they'll do something. It just happens to be a wall this time. Okay, fine. What is so miraculous about your book saying two religious groups are going to dislike each other and fight and there's going to be a wall? Well, guess what? Walls have been used in war for centuries before and centuries after the Quran. So there's nothing spectacular or miraculous about the information of people using a wall. Okay? If you're, you know, it's pretty obvious that you're going to use a wall. It's the best, easiest way. Trenches and walls is the best, easiest way to, you know, stop their troops from kicking the shit out of you and giving you a chance to attack them without having severe casualties inflicted upon you. This is basic stuff. And the Quran also, you know, the Muslims are going to fight the Jews. Well, what a big fucking surprise. Are you telling me that, that there was no, you know, religious persecution going on between any of these groups before now, and this is somehow new? This is not a prophecy. This is stuff that was already happening. That, you know, in order to make a prophecy, you've got to actually have something that you think's going to happen that's rare, that isn't usually going to happen. Because I could just as easily sit here and go, I predict that in the future, two groups of people, I'll call them countries, will go to war. And that war will include guns. Bow. Just as good as a prediction as the Quran. You know, you leave your predictions vague enough, and you know, make it so that your prediction has a high degree of probability already, plus the fact that, you know, this stuff was happening right then and there. It's not like this stuff wasn't happening. You know, in order to make a prediction about something, you're going to have to predict something that isn't already happening. I mean, if it's already happening, it's easy to go, I think it's going to continue to happen. Duh. Alright. So that, you know, so that's what I basically told him. I was like, this is not a prophecy, this is not spectacular, and this is not a miracle. That, you know, if you need God to tell you that there's going to be some people mad at you later, and plus this isn't even, you know, Islam is going to fight with the Jews. Well, isn't that just, you know, kind of up to you guys, the Islams and the Jews, to whether or not you fight? I mean, this is a prophecy that you will make either come true or not. You know, this is what we call a self-fulfilling prophecy. Unless it's not, and then you just institute confirmation bias and pretend that, you know, that prophecy didn't actually ever exist, or you twist it to where the prophecy actually meant something different, and it still kind of counts. Yeah, well, I'm not buying it. So I told him, you know, this is This is not miraculous. And I can already almost tell that he's going to shoot back with, oh, I never claimed that it was, miraculous, that this was going to, I've seen enough of him on the show for him to be like, well, I never claimed that it was miraculous. Okay, fine. This is the problem with your argument, sir. You don't actually present an argument. You see, you present half of an argument, and then when someone refutes it, you come back and say, well, I never stated the last half of that argument, so I never actually said any of that stuff, even though most of that stuff is implied, in the phrasing of the questions and things like that. But that doesn't seem to matter. So he's going to come back with, well, I never said that this was supposed to be miraculous and this was supposed to prove the Quran. Okay, well, you did say it was a prophecy, and prophecies are supposed to be miraculous. So let's dispense with that right now. Okay? If the argument normally follows this, you prove that your book is somehow holy and special and must have had magic, to make it happen, and then you show that the stuff in that book tells you the magic stuff that did happen, and therefore you have proven that the God in the book is real and all that jazz. And so you're supposed to produce miracle claims, stuff that, prophecies like, hey, this was prophesized and there's absolutely no possible way anyone could have known about it except from magic. Okay, that's what the argument is supposed to be. Then you go, once we have established that there is magic and that this book has the magic and it's the special one with the magic and it's got something to it, then you move on to, let's prove that all the magic stuff in the book is really being attributed properly to the magic stuff in the book. Let's make sure that that the magic stuff in the book isn't something else, that it's actually the same thing that the book is saying is actually what's going on. Okay? So you're supposed to do all that to prove that the book is in fact correct and magical about everything, and the book says that a God did all this stuff. Therefore, the God must be real because the book is real and the book has been proven to be magic and can only come from a source of magic. Okay? That's the course that the argument normally takes. However, Nadir seems to present half of the argument, which is, well, my holy book says this. And then when you say, even if that's true, it doesn't prove anything about the God existing, he says, oh, I never said anything about that over here. But it's implied, dude. There is absolutely no point for bringing up this part of the argument if you're not going to at one point try to bring in the latter part of the argument that proves your entire case. Because you are trying to prove that there is a God, correct? And you are trying to prove that the Quran proves that there is a God and the Quran is holy, correct? So at one point in time, in some way, shape, or form, your argument has to take the form of Quran proving stuff. Quran says something about God, and God has to be proven, and God is proven because this thing is proven, therefore there is a God. But you cut off this half of the argument, and you get rid of it, and so you just let people address this part. And then when they get to the part where it starts to, okay, even if this stuff is true, and it starts to imply that this entire book must be true, and therefore all the contents in the book must be true, and therefore since the God's in the book, God must be true, you just say, oh, I never said that. I never said anything about the Quran proving God is true. Come on, dude. That is the entire point of showing prophecies in the Quran, is it not? So I just want you to think about that a little bit. And I'm putting this video up because I'm afraid that our conversation is going to be wasted. Okay, I don't want to have a private conversation with someone and then me spend all this time refuting all these points and then find out that all that time has been wasted because the guy that I was arguing with or debating with or whatever you want to call it had no intention of ever changing his mind from the beginning. and absolutely nobody's going to benefit from this. I'm probably not going to benefit from this. I'm doing this for other people's benefit. He's probably not going to benefit by this because he's one of the true believers that is not open to changing his mind because he already has the ultimate truth. And no one else who's sitting on the fence will ever see it. So to me, it's, if there's not going to be someone benefiting from the conversation, I really don't see a point in having the conversation. I've had the conversation, been through the conversation. It hardly ever does any good unless you're reaching a larger audience. So I don't want Nadir to feel like I'm, being deceitful or whatever by posting these videos. I just honestly don't want, for me or his time to be wasted, just doing these private little online conversations that are off the air that absolutely no one is going to benefit from. I sincerely doubt he's going to change his mind about Islam. That may not even be an option for him. There's a high degree of probability I'm not going to change my mind either because I've been through all these arguments. So, it's kind of pointless. But for other people out there who are entertained or on the fence, they're the ones who I'm making this video for. So if there's any question as to why our discussion has gone from being text-based to being on a video, it's because if it's not on a video, there's almost no point to me doing it. So that's basically why I'm making this video now. It's just so this doesn't turn out to be a big waste in the end, because at least I've gotten this much out of it already. So the conversation is already given more than what it ever would have possibly given had I just kept it in between private messages. So I look forward to continuing the conversation with Nadir, and I look forward to posting my next video response to his response. I'm hoping the debate doesn't take the form of I refute his argument and then he links me to a different web page, and then I have to refute that, and then he just links me to another web page without ever acknowledging the refutation of the arguments. I'd also like to ask the question, if I indeed do refute every single one of your arguments successfully, would you change your mind? Would you doubt the Quran and Allah and Muhammad and all that jazz? I'm just asking the question. I think the answer to the question says a lot about the intellectual, honesty of a person. So just throwing that out there. If you'd like to reply to me on a video or through private messages, feel free. I'll probably go ahead and send a link directly to him with this, showing him this video so he knows it's out there. So take it easy. Mr. Atheist Guy, we'll talk to you guys later. I'm out.